and welcome back to COAGG Conversations. I'm your host, Doomcutie, and here with me today I have the incredible, actually, Arcane. Yay!
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. I am absolutely just, this has been a little bit of a long time coming because, quite frankly, I live in the middle of nowhere and we've been having some wild weather, and because of that, there have been blackouts. So our
Oh my gosh.
so our first meeting was actually it was postponed. But thank
It's
you
okay.
so much for being here.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for rescheduling, following up. I love it. I'm so excited.
Oh my goodness. First of all, how are you?
I'm doing
2024.
great.
We're the beginning of the year. How has it been for you? What are some of your goals for this year? Fill us in.
All right. Well, first I've been cold because in my part of the world it's been freezing. So trying to keep warm. I'm very jealous of the heat that y'all have at the moment. But it's been really good. I think we've been in a little bit of a content drought for a lot of the games that I play up until this point. But today, a ton of news for both World of Warcraft and Diablo 4 got announced. So now I'm eating good. And I think some of my goals for this year, I had a really wonderful year last year, a completely unprecedented year. But I think getting a little bit more consistent about my content and figuring out the types of content that I want to make long term. Because as incredible as it was to go viral, I can't count on just consistently going viral. That's not a content strategy. So trying to
Mm-hmm.
find the content that I really want to continue making. And then, continuing to bridge that gap between being a World of Warcraft content creator and a Diablo content creator, because I love both games and I don't want to give one of them up. So I think that's an ever evolving journey. I'm really hoping to go back to BlizzCon this year as well. I was lucky enough to go as a feature creator last year, and I really would love to do that again. So that's kind of my goal.
Oh, shout out to the team over at
Oh my
Blizzard, by the way.
gosh.
All of their community managers. I mean,
Yeah.
the ANZ team is fantastic, and I can only imagine that the US team is even better. So
And I
shout
met
out
a
to those
lot of the
guys.
Australian team at BlizzCon, and they were really, really wonderful, so welcoming, and I'm really grateful to have met them. I'm a little jealous of all the awesome people that y'all get to work with over there.
I think it's because it's actually so hard in
Yeah,
Australia to actually get into those positions, and not only to get into those positions, but continue to like cheerlead for yourself and like not get so I guess like bogged down in how small it is in
yeah.
Australia. So definitely every single person that you meet in the community, either whether they have made it as a streamer or whether they have made it in the more professional sense of gaming, they've worked really hard to be there, and they're
Absolutely.
incredibly grateful to be there. So
Yeah, but I think it's a really good opportunity because there are so few people. I think it's a really great place to stand out. So, you and a few other of my favorite Australian creators are really doing that.
oh my god, she likes you. Did you hear that, guys? She
Of
likes
course!
you.
Oh my god!
Oh my goodness.
Uh,
Okay, so obviously, like you said, like last year was absolutely incredible for you,
it
and
was.
I, but personally, I just we love to see it. We love to see it, but I can understand where you're coming from in regards to going viral. Now, if people are listening, you won't be able to hear this. See this. You'll be able to hear it, but you won't be able to see it. But last year, I mean, you tell the story. You tell
Yeah,
it. Your
sure.
story.
Last year, I guess in March of last year, the Diablo 4 beta went live, and I was messing around in the character creation screen, and I always give my characters red hair, messing around with the different class customizations, and I found that the druid body type actually highly resembled my own. It was broad shoulders, wide ribs, big hips, and it was a really big aha moment for me, like, oh my gosh, I have a character in this game right now that looks like me. She even I cut all my hair off 2 years ago, and she had the same haircut as me too.
Mm,
It was just
yeah.
a really stunning moment, and I shared my joy at seeing a bigger body type on camera, and I posted on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and I kind of I didn't think too much about it. I was like, oh, well, hopefully it'll make, my very small following happy. And then it started to blow up on every platform. I think on Twitter it's like 19,000 likes and 1.5 million views. On TikTok it's over 500,000 views. It's my most viewed YouTube short. I had news agencies reaching out to me, like BBC, Activision Blizzard, like their news release
Huge.
reached out. It was wild, and they all wanted me to talk about the importance of body diversity in gaming. And I never thought that that one moment of joy would start that amount of conversation. I'm really glad it did. Unfortunately, it also definitely highlighted the progress that the gaming community still has to make in terms of accepting bigger bodies and women in games.
Mhm.
So dealt with a lot of harassment for a really long time, but I think despite that, it was worth it just to see the impact that it made on not only players who saw my clip, but also the developers who saw my clip. I've had
Mm.
quite a few people from Blizzard reach out and say how much it meant to them to see my reaction because of how much work that they had put in to make the character creator more inclusive.
I was really happy to see the character creation so diverse, and like even in
Yeah.
height as well. Like I know that's actually really I think that's really hard to do.
I
Yeah,
know,
well,
it's so
and even
hard.
and even though like within the game, unless it's within the cut scenes, you don't actually really see the height difference too much, because of the way that it's top down. Like I was personally really amazed, and like I'm also a plus size woman in this community, and to see someone being so have such an emotional reaction to it, I think just really, for me, you were just saying, I think, what we were all thinking.
Yeah.
And it's hard out there. It's hard
It
out there
is.
being
It's really hard.
a plus size woman in gaming, being a
Yeah.
content creator, um, and not feeling represented in games. Like we don't either within video games, the characters have either really athletic body types or
Yeah.
they have really outrageous body types with humongous breasts that defy
Oh
physics
my
and
God.
teeny
I
tiny
know.
bodies, which is, look, they're fantasy worlds. I get it, but
But it's
the
still
fact of
really
them,
weird that your fantasy does not include people who look like me.
yeah, and well,
You
that's
know?
another thing as well. It's
Like,
like it's saying that uh, people who are plus size, both men and women, are not valued in these worlds,
right. They can't
which
be a
is,
part of the storytelling.
yeah, which is a real shame. So I think, number one, thank you for being brave enough to put that content out there,
Of course.
because it's not easy. And two, like, honestly, it made me like keep going, like, honestly, for because, yeah, babe, like,
Good.
honestly, oh, I'm not, I hate putting myself in a box, but and I think that's why I struggled so hard trying to keep up with streamers, was the
Yeah.
fact that I just don't really look like them. But you and I represent pretty, like, a lot of female
Yes.
gamers.
Yeah. And, it can feel pretty isolating when you're sitting online and you're seeing a lot of content creators who are posting images of themselves and they do not look like you. But I think actually weirdly BlizzCon was a really weird reminder that the people that we see online and other content creators are not necessarily representative of the player
No.
base in
Nope.
any sense of the word. Like I met so many people that I was like, you look like a normal human being, not in a bad way, but in a good way. I'm like, oh, thank God, you guys don't all look like you have Instagram filters on. This makes me feel so much better. Don't get me wrong. I met some gorgeous people that I was like, how are you real? Oh gosh. But at the same time, I was like, a lot of these like race to world first people, all of these people that we look
Mm,
up
mm,
to, they're bigger people. They're not rail thin. They're not, huge muscle people. Like they're
mm,
normal humans. And I think that when you're just online, it can get really hard to remember that. So I think in person events like that are so few and far between, but it was such a moment of, I don't stand out in this community as much as I thought I did.
Yeah.
But it was so weird for people online to see someone like me. Why is that? And I think that the more that we can make ourselves visible, the better it will be, because people will get used to seeing people like this.
Which
Like,
is
yeah,
so
I
wild.
have a little bit of neck. Like, I'm a bigger person. Guess what? Like, that's just a thing. People like me exist. I'm
Yeah.
taller. Like, I don't know why that's so outlandish to say in the gaming realm, but it really, really is. So, I'm hoping that my reaction, as well as all of the conversation that stemmed out of it, will have
Mm,
kind of, I guess, put the fire under developers to make more
yeah.
characters that look like us. And one thing
Mhm.
that I've talked about in several interviews while discussing this is that the Diablo Druid's awesome. Love it. However, the the druid being the plus size character is in and of itself a stereotype, because
That's true.
bigger people are often associated with being brutish, animalistic,
Yeah.
rough, and it's like they can also be elegant, careful, sneaky, but those character tropes are not associated with bigger bodies, and that
Mm,
stereotype still does persist even in Diablo, and then like Overwatch too. So I'm
mm.
hoping that we can kind of uncouple the idea that if you have a bigger character, they have to be like a tank and brutish or animalistic. They can be any other type of character too.
Yeah. I think reflecting on that, obviously, World of Warcraft has opened up a lot of their classes to other races, but
Mm-hmm.
still, the bigger character model is a panda. Like, yes, I can
And
be
the
a rogue as a
Kulturans.
panda. Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
so I can be a bigger character, but it's really like it's a bear. Like it's not.
True. And the female Pandaren are so much smaller than the male Pandaren.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
that's
like,
right.
it doesn't have to be that way though. And I think that's Diablo did a pretty good job, like the male and the female models,
Are
or
pretty similar.
the two
Yeah.
body types. Because that's the other thing I'm really glad that they did, is they unhooked the body type from the pronouns, which I'm really glad for.
Mm.
But yeah, I think WoW has a long way to go, and even in WoW, I get harassed for, like, I've played a Kultiran. I was standing in the Dark Moon Fair at some point on one of my Kultiran alts, and somebody just came up in game and started like saying out loud, like, "Get out of here, fatty. Nobody wants to see you." And I was like, "Is this real life? What's happening right now?" I didn't
Well,
think to record it or anything, because I was just like on an alt at the Dark Moon Fair, and I was just so stunned. But and I was just standing there. I think I was waiting for something. I don't know. But it still happens. And I think, you know, in both games and in all games, there's a long way to go.
yeah, for sure. I didn't think that we would get here. Like I'm glad that we're having these conversations, and
Yeah.
these conversations really are like they can be uncomfortable for people. But I mean, first of all, what does my body type and the way that my body looks, like how is that anyone else's business, if that makes sense? Like
Fair.
why does anyone else get a say? Like come
Yeah.
on, you don't know.
No.
I could have a medical condition, or maybe my ancestors are all from England and Ireland and Scotland, and I was made to survive wars and have babies. You know what I
There you
mean?
go.
That's
Yeah, at my
that's my
very
genetics.
thinnest in high school, I think I was still a size 10. And I was like peak athlete. I used to dance. I danced for 15 years, and I was dancing like 20 hours a week. I was in great
Ooh.
shape, but I was a size 10 still, and that's
Yeah.
big for a lot of people. And it's like, it doesn't matter how much I work out. And I do have medical conditions, but like, I don't share that on stream, and it does not
Mm.
make me unworthy of playing a video game.
It's
You know? And
it's just wild to me.
I think that's the hard part too. I've had since all of this. I'm really, really grateful for the response that my clip has gotten. But at the same time, I'm not just a fat
Yeah.
content creator.
Yeah,
I
I
do
mean,
create content. Like, my
I am
brand is
funny,
not the
I'm
fact that I'm fat.
smart,
Right.
I I know a lot about these games, I'm
Yeah.
entertaining, like
Same thing.
and
And I was talking to somebody at BlizzCon. I was talking to one of the community managers, wonderful person.
Mhm.
But I was saying, yeah, it's a little hard because I do have such a diverse background. I have 2 master's degrees. And they go, "What? You do
We
what?
love an intelligent
And I'm like,
queen.
I'd have other things I do in my
Yeah.
life. I'm not just plus size.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that's the thing too, is I hope that at some point it's not such a sensation to see somebody
Mm,
like
mm.
me get excited about a game. Hopefully it'll be like, oh yeah, everyone's excited about the game, you know?
Exactly. And, obviously, the more you continue to put your work out there, and I understand, like, moving away from going viral, and, like, obviously, I think you mentioned before, like, going viral is not like a content strategy. It really isn't,
No,
even though some people love to do that.
it's
But
hard
unfortunately,
to do.
well, because I mean, you're pigeonholed into
Yeah.
this thing, like it, and yours just happened by accident. Some people were
Mhm.
out there creating content and they're just like, you know what, I'm just going to do something wild, like I'm going to shave my head on stream, and then like next
No.
minute they have to keep doing all this outlandish things because the people that came to them and are following them saw that, and that's what they expect moving forward.
Right.
um
And I
so
mean, I've kind of fallen into that because people like watching me react to things, but I don't mind that because I'm watching all the stuff anyway. If you want me to record it and you want to watch it with me on my YouTube, I'm not upset about that, but I'm not going to
mhm.
change the way that I play my game to like bait more engagement. Like that's not something I'm going to do. And you know, at
Oh,
this point,
yeah.
my most viral clip is not the Diablo Druid clip. I have
What
a
is it?
TikTok that has, I think, 5 million views at this point, and it's me and Hottie Chicken, who's another incredible
Oh,
content
yeah.
creator, at BlizzCon reacting to the War Within
Yeah,
cinematic.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
actually my most viral thing now, but that's not what people know me for. So just because it's viral doesn't mean you're going to, like, I don't know. It's such a weird space to be in.
Oh, for sure. Speaking again about, obviously diversity within
Yes.
gaming, if you have, if you haven't watched it or listened to it, go back because we had Haughty Chicken on the
Yes.
podcast, and she,
Oh,
I mean, she'd be.
love
I just
her.
want to. I just want to sit down with a cup of tea with her for like 5 hours and just I
Yeah.
want her. I feel she heals my inner child, and I just love that. She's so calming. She's so knowledgeable, but also really passionate and fierce at the same time, which is actually really hard to do.
She's so
Um,
witty as well. Like
yeah.
it was wonderful to get to spend time with her, and I absolutely I hear you with that. Like you know, it heals the inner child. I've known Hottie for like 3 almost, oh my gosh, probably like 4 years now. And we've become really good friends, and you know have talked through real life things,
Mm.
and you know having that kind of connection with somebody who, keep in mind, I'm in the US, Hottie, and you are in Australia. Odds
We're
are
in the
I
same state as
never,
well.
ever, there you go. I never would have met you. I never in a million
Yeah.
years, except for the like power of gaming. And Hadi's been such
Oh.
an
Mm.
incredible influence in my life and a comfort. I lost my grandma in June of last year,
Yeah.
and when I got to meet Hottie again, it was like the first time since then that I had felt like a grandma hug,
Oh.
and it was the most like healing
Yeah.
experience. And she was so much like, as cool as she is on stream, she's even better in person. Like she's just
Oh,
amazing.
she is. She is. Yeah,
No,
I've met her twice in real life.
I
So
love
I
her.
feel I feel very fortunate. And I think, my work in this space, like it's all about cultivating that sisterhood, and that
Yeah.
sisterhood knows no age. And honestly, we need more women like Haughty Chicken in this space for us. We
Yeah.
and they need us as well, to inspire them and to show them cool things, and then
I've
they,
been
they
sending
teach us other
Hottie
things.
tutorials on TikTok because she's like, I need help. And I'm like, I got you. We'll figure
Yeah,
this out together.
we can do this, and
We can do
this
it.
is this is exactly what I mean. Like those relationships are so valuable. Like obviously
Yeah.
representation is valuable, because obviously, like, age scales and things like that have a lot of work to do within games. Um,
Yes.
but outside of that, I feel like women especially, we really value those intergenerational relationships, and they really can be helpful and healing for us.
Absolutely. And I've met an amazing amount of wonderful women through gaming. And I think it even shocked me because when I started streaming back in 2020, I thought, okay, it's going to be me and my partner, and I'm just going to play because nobody else plays Arcane Mage on Twitch, and so hopefully like 4 people will tune into me. And I met so many other wonderful people, and I found I wasn't the only like woman that was playing these games at this time in my life. I was a part of a community that I didn't know, and I think that's the power of entering these spaces. And it can be really hard to put yourself out there on social media, but I'm so glad that I did, just because of the visibility that it's given me into the types of people I have an opportunity to connect with.
Oh, we've touched on some really meaningful points, and this is really supposed to be about you. So I'm very sorry, but
No.
I think we both have a lot of insight into these topics. So I'm really appreciative that you're open to these kinds of conversations, because it just fills my cup. It really, really does. And shout out to mages, okay? Blizzard, if you're watching, mages just need to be buffed like one time. We just need to be good one time, and that will like justify me continuing.
Not fire mages.
No.
Somebody else, for the love of God.
Please, I don't know why you're doing this to me, but I've loved my little frosty mage. Report, okay? Report. I've played her for 13 years, and she's never been good, okay? And I don't know if it's my Australian internet or if you won't buff frost mages.
I literally, I in my guild Discord, somebody posted a picture of the Arcane Mage burst rotation, and they said, "Is this real? Is this actually?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "This is insane! Like this." There's like 20 lines on here for just your burst.
I have 5 hands. I have 5 hands.
Basically. And they're like, how do you do this? And I'm like, I'll be honest, I don't do a lot of the like best stuff because I can't. I actually have to do mechanics. I can't just stand there, And so, if you would love to like change the build up and rotation for Arcane and not keep breaking it with spells that are pretty but are totally ridiculous, that would be great.
Okay. Rotations are difficult for some of the casters, okay? That's because we have to stay still when we're casting. If you could just make us invulnerable for like a 30-second invulnerability spell, something like that would be great, just so we can get our opener, and then we get our stacks up, and we all that jazz. So.
That, or give me like more than just a single instant cast spell would be great. Having multiples of those would be awesome. I don't know.
Or we could just play a hunter or a rogue.
I at some point I was leveling a hunter, and somebody in a dungeon was like, "Why aren't you moving?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I'm DPSing." And they're like, "You can move." And I was like, "What?"
I but I can't, just for the sake of it, like
the people that jump up and down. I'm like, I can't.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, you might be ADHD, but you don't have to be in game. Like, you don't have to lean that hard into your character.
I'm super ADHD, absolutely. Sometimes I am in game too. Do I just make mana bun circles? Yes, I do. But at the same time, like, enough jumping. Like, okay.
just ban jumping. Just ban hunters from jumping in dungeons.
It's the fire mages that are like combust and they jump, and they're like, it helps with the spell time in the air, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Does it though? Does it help enough? Like, you're still doing less DPS than I do. I don't think the jumping is helping you, but like, it's okay. You can calm.
If it makes you feel good,
if it makes you feel good, you do you. Yeah, I'm not paying your sub. You're not paying mine. Like,
this is great, because I'm gonna go into me again. Sorry.
No, please.
But I love Xbox. I'm an Xbox girly. I'm a Microsoft girly. Like, I've always have been. I like the controller better. I'm trying to look. I've got a PS5. I'm trying to get into it a little bit more. And to be honest, I didn't really have a really good computer till about like 2 and a bit years ago. I used to play World of Warcraft on a laptop.
That's how I started.
It was a Mac.
Mine too. I had it from college. I did all my video editing on it. That was the only thing I had.
It sounded like it was going to take off. Like, honestly.
I had to put stuff underneath it because it would burn my legs.
Yes. I had, I don't know. It's not here, but I think I still have it. I have mine too. I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills right now. I'm so excited. I had, like a cooling thing. underneath,
Yeah.
and then it had like a slide out mouse thing. I wasn't playing. I'm not an idiot. I wasn't playing with the bloody trackpad. Not like, sorry, touchpad
We're
warrior.
not all touchpad, I know. Sorry, Will. Sorry.
Sorry. But yeah, I just anyway. So we're going back. Console. Going from console. The people who play console and then like talking about World of Warcraft, they're like, oh, that's not a real game. It's like, do you know how many people play this game? Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know how big this game is?
And I was one of those people. I had only ever played on console. I also had an Xbox. It was the only game system other than like the Wii that I had.
Yeah.
And I had only played like Skyrim, Fallout, Assassin's Creed, those kinds of games. But eventually I wanted a game with my partner instead of just one of us watching the other play games. And so, yeah, we downloaded stuff onto my crappy little laptop that sounded like an airplane taking off. We played through Borderlands 2. And then he was getting back into World of Warcraft. And I was like, I don't know. I had cousins who played it and they, made me download it at some point. And I just remember being dead the whole time. That's the only thing I remember. I remember being dead and walking. And sure enough, I look back and they had me on a PvP server. And I'm like, well, that's why I was always dead.
Wow.
But I was watching him play and he had the little pet, the Bone Storm. And it did the Bone Storm. And I was like, I want that. Can I get it if I play? He's like, yeah. I was like, I'm there. But I played it on my laptop until we built my PC. We built it during the pandemic. So I have a crap PC right now. It gets mad at me when I do like 3 things at once.
Oh, yeah.
But we built it for like $600 in like 2019, 2020. It took a long time to build and it's gotten me this far, but it's a weird transition. I mean, I had considered myself a gamer because I had played on console, and then I got introduced to like this community and this network of PC games. I was like, oh.
You don't know what a gamer is until you've been a PC gamer.
That's honestly though, like it was just a totally different world than I ever had imagined.
For sure. And it like it's more than just like, men and women. Like it's more than, old and young. Like there is so many like nuances. There's like console warring. There's like people who think that PC is better. There's people that play on everything. There's cozy gamers that only play on the Switch, or they've got like a $5,000 PC just so they can play The Sims. Like, you do you, boo. Like that's totally fine. You're obviously like quite new as into streaming compared to like some maybe other people that have been streaming for a long time. But like, what would you say like overall has been like one of your like most notable experiences
with streaming specifically?
Just content creating, streaming, like all together. Like,
I think it's hard to beat. I got the opportunity to stream from the BlizzCon stage floor in the Diablo area, which was incredible. I
saw that pic.
Yeah, I got to go in a day early to like see the area and figure out the PC that I was going to be set up at, and it was a whole thing, and do a tech test, and it was unreal to be in the BlizzCon hall with nobody around. And then it was even more unreal to like hear my voice coming over the speaker and have people coming to sit behind me to listen to me. And then also to have Rod Ferguson, who is the GM of Diablo 4, come and just sit down next to me. I had expressed to Adam Fletcher, who's the global community manager for Diablo. He's awesome. I love him. I had expressed that I would love to meet Rod because we had interacted on Twitter and I thought it'd be really fun. He's like, well, he's really busy. I don't know, but I'll let him know that you, and I was like, okay, whatever. I'm a small fish here and this is his busiest day probably. And so one of the other community managers, Casey, he was interacting with my fiance while I was streaming, and they're like, well, Rod might come over and we'll try to let you know so you can give her a heads up. And he was like, okay, cool. And then Rod just like pulls up a chair and sits down, no warning. And I was like, okay.
How you going, Arcane?
It was literally just like, hey, how's it going? And I just let my character die. You can just see the health drop.
Hello, Diablo Santa.
I was just like, nothing else matters right now. Hi. And I like gave him a pair of Gunnar Optics glasses because he said he wanted a pair. And that was just such an unreal experience.
Oh, that's so good.
I thought it was like 30 seconds, but looking back at the VOD, it was like he was like there for like 10 minutes. And it went by so fast and it was amazing. And then I got to talk to Kaylee Calder, who is one of the producers for Diablo 4. I got to talk to her for like 45 minutes, and she was incredible. I got to ask her all about a lot of different things, but I tried to focus not just on like class balancing, but the intentionality behind the world creation. And between those two, I mean, I never thought I'd get the opportunity to even speak to them, much less have that on my stream and then be able to put it on YouTube. That was so amazing. And I'll be honest, like neither of those videos got a ton of views, but it meant so much to me as a creator that it was still one of the things that I'm most proud of being able to do.
Yeah. It's when you get to meet your mentors in this space, because look, at the end of the day, we're just doing things that we enjoy doing, and we're sharing that with other people.
Yeah.
But we're also inspired by people, and it's honestly like I watch the videos and you can just tell like how freaking excited and happy you are, but also
Yeah.
in awe you are of being there. And
Well, and then to have people like
so
that come
great.
and say that I inspire them. I'm like, I just sit in my room and play the game and like stream to no one. I don't, what are you talking about?
Oh,
It was
it's
such
that
a weird place to be in. And even just like walking around BlizzCon, at the airport on the way to BlizzCon, I had somebody come up to me and be like, "Are you actually Arcane?" And all throughout BlizzCon, they're like, "Oh, are you Arcane?" Or I would introduce myself to people and they say, "I know."
I know.
I was like,
I,
"Oh my
I,
God,
I,
okay."
I personally would not say that. I would not be like, yeah, I know who you are.
No,
I wouldn't.
Taliesin from Taliesin and Nevatel. I went in to introduce myself, and he's like, "Arcane, I see you on my Twitter all the time." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
okay."
this is embarrassing.
It
I
was
put things
so
on the internet and you see them.
well. It was just one of
Oh,
those like I don't conceptualize that those people also consume my content because why would I? Like, I don't know. It was such a weird place to be, and I'm so grateful. But I also
yeah.
it's like I don't know what to do with this information, you know. So it was great.
It's the first time that happens, and it happened to me a little bit at PAX Australia last year.
Yeah,
Like people would be like, Doomcutie. And I'm like, oh yes, that me as
that's
that.
right.
Hello. And then I'm like, hello. I don't. So, some people I didn't know who they were.
Me either. I'm
But
like, your profile picture on Twitter is of like a unicorn. I didn't know you looked
I
like
didn't.
this in person. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Or
But
you've only spoken to people like in voice, and you only know them as their like character, or or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty mind blowing. But you know what?
yes.
And I know this might come out a bit harsh, but I think the people who react like you and I do, who don't like consider themselves like extremely like important, in the industry, we're actually really genuine people, and we genuinely love the games that we play. So if you're looking for people who are actually not trying to sell you something all the time, we do that. Like
Yeah.
we actually love what we do. We're genuine, and we're not going to show you something or promote something if we don't actually love it. So
If I'm playing a game on my stream or in any of my content, it's because I want to be playing it. If I'm
yeah,
using a product, it's because I want to be using it. I am very picky about which sponsorships or partnerships that I apply for because I'm like, I didn't get it into this to sell people stuff that I wouldn't even recommend. Like, I got
yeah,
into this because I love to game. And if I'm using the product anyway, then sure, like
it's a
yeah,
win-win.
I'll
Yeah,
say I do this anyway. Like if Logitech wanted to sponsor me, like these are my favorite headphones. I love them so much. Like any day of the week, they're purple, they're perfect. Like that's fine.
yeah,
But if some company I've never heard of is like, I want to, get you to sell stuff, I'm like, no, I don't know. I've never used your stuff. Why would I do that? So
yeah,
I think it's important to find the genuine people, and there's a lot of them out there. It can get easy to become. I've fallen into this myself. Become more cynical of like, oh, everyone's trying to sell something, everyone's trying to
yeah.
push an angle, and like don't get me wrong, a lot of people are trying to accomplish things,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean they're not genuine people, and that's something that's pretty easy to tell once you watch, especially like a live stream. You can
Mm.
tell the people who are there and excited to be interacting with their chat and the people who refuse to read it. They're
Yeah.
very different.
I find that really off-putting. Like, I understand like chats can get a little bit crazy, but I mean,
But to not acknowledge it at all,
yeah,
like to
like
have
not even
subs
saying
coming in
hi.
and not even saying thank you, like that's a level of content creation and streaming that I don't personally identify with. And I've never had, 500 subs coming in a minute. But if I did, you bet your ass I would try to say thank you to every single
I would be
person.
fainted. It would then
Yeah.
become a sleeping stream.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Right? And it's
it
like,
would be.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know why somebody would want to watch a stream a few years ago. I have a
Yeah.
younger brother. He's like 10 years younger than me. And he would watch streams of people's games. And I was like, you're
Why are you
watching the game.
watching?
Just play the game. You're watching, right? But I slowly was introduced to it. The first streamer I ever watched was Luxthos, who's a really big streamer in the WoW community. And I had a question, and I was like, okay, I'm going to type it in chat, I guess. And he actually said, "Hi, how are you doing?" and answered my question. I was like, "Oh, well, that was kind of nice." And I'm still subscribed, 4 years later. Um,
Hmm.
and so I think it's just about shifting perspective and not making assumptions based on, when somebody says, "Oh, I stream, I game," different things like
Yeah.
that. I face that in my work daily if I tell someone I'm a gamer.
Like but please, I've dipped my toe into actually sharing this with like on my personal Facebook, and I
Yeah.
framed it in. Actually did it yesterday. I posted because I took a. I'm a teacher. Most people know that. And well,
I
anyone who
work in
knows me.
education.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And I dipped my toe in, and I put up to posting on my private Facebook because I actually, raised money for breast cancer last year.
Yeah.
And I took some time off teaching last year, and I said things I did while I wasn't teaching in 2023. Raised $700 for the National Breast Cancer Foundation. And so, I mean, they don't know that it was through gaming, but if they do, it was for a good cause, and I want people to actually understand that there's so much good that can come out of doing this, and I feel like I have to almost apologize for my hobby or make it. I
Yeah.
know, and
No, I have the same thing. And actually,
yeah,
I did almost the exact same thing. As I mentioned, after my grandma passed,
yeah,
she actually passed during a heart surgery.
yeah,
So I worked with the American Heart
you
Foundation,
did.
American Heart Association, to raise money in her honor. And of course, I was like, I want to share this with people who knew her and family members and
Mm,
things like
mm,
that.
mm.
But I'm going to be doing it through gaming, so they're going to find out that I do this. And you know what? Whatever. It's for the best cause possible.
Yeah,
And that was the right decision, and I think that was a good, way to introduce it, but
mm,
people didn't be like, "Oh, why would you game?" People were just like, "I didn't know this about you. That's cool. What
I
does it
know.
mean?" Then people had curiosity, so I've started to share more on my personal Facebook. I've started to integrate with my gaming stuff with my personal LinkedIn, which has been an adventure in and of itself, but slowly bridging those
Okay,
those
this is.
worlds.
If you're listening, and I banged on about this from the moment the podcast started, and I promise you it wasn't just because of Aaron Goldsmith. Love you, babe. Mwah, we love you.
Oh my gosh,
We had her on the podcast as well. Shout
good.
out. And banging on about LinkedIn. If you are a content creator, if you want to actually make this a viable career and not just, sponsorship to sponsorship, you actually want to work with these people, you want to get to know them, they're all on LinkedIn, babe. That's where they are. You got to be there too. And you know what? Sorry, I'm going to share this
Oh,
because she shared this morning. She's working it. She looks phenomenal, babe. Please.
thank you.
She and she's honestly big long text, just blab. People love lots to
Yes,
read. They want,
they
and you can
do.
do little blog posts if you want to dip your toes into game reviews. Do it. You can do it on LinkedIn. It's
True.
so good. Sorry, I'll get off my
I think
horse now.
there's a lot of opportunity in LinkedIn. No, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of opportunity because LinkedIn doesn't exactly know what it wants to be for creators
Hmm.
yet.
Hmm.
It's really in the beginning stages. And a lot of people that you see on Twitter that might have 10,000 followers, 100,000 followers, maybe, only 7,000 followers, but they're game developers or other things. Most likely, they've got a pretty small following on LinkedIn, and they know all of
Mhm.
their followers. And if you follow them, they'll probably acknowledge, and like it's a really good
Mm,
place to
mm.
interact genuinely. Don't be like, "Hi, I'm a good fan." Like, see what kinds of things they're sharing, see what they're working on,
Yes.
interact genuinely, and you can make an extra account. You don't have to be on your personal one. You can still keep your gaming persona separate. I've
Mm.
chosen to kind of mesh mine.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
so if you're looking for me on LinkedIn, my name is Ashlyn, Ashlyn. And my last name right now is Maher, but I'm getting married, so it's gonna change. Um,
Oh my god, that's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. But yeah, it's been really interesting. And I think Twitter, especially, it punishes you for a lot of text. And so you have to figure out how to say something
Mm.
really powerful in like 10 words. And it's really hard. And sometimes these conversations can't be had in a tweet. The importance of diversity and inclusion in gaming cannot be summed
Mhm.
up in a single tweet. As much as, one viral tweet about it is awesome, it's really
Mm.
important to continue conversations. And I have found that LinkedIn is actually a really good place for that. And Erin Goldsmith, who you mentioned earlier, she's done a really good job of modeling the way in this, in talking
Yes.
about her specific journey with gaming and then a lot of the work that she does. She's very genuine in the way that she shares, and she interacts with a lot of people who are also genuine in the way that they share. And I messaged her and I said, hey, I had this experience on LinkedIn. Actually, Hottie Chicken sent me a post from LinkedIn that somebody had posted one of my videos and had not credited me.
Yeah, okay.
And I, messaged Erin. I said, "Does this happen a lot?" And she's like, "You should post about that. Share it." So
Yeah.
I did, and it got a huge interaction, which is not what I was expecting. So
Mm.
I'm very much in the like beginning baby stages of learning it. I'll say like this week I've made more progress on LinkedIn than I ever
You've
have
got
previously,
700
but
connections, all right? You've,
I had like 300 earlier.
yeah. Yep.
It's been that's most of like yesterday and today. Um
Yeah.
but because of that, people are hungry for hearing voices on LinkedIn.
Yes,
The
they
gaming
are.
industry is hungry for diverse opinions and also just experiences to be shared on that platform. I do know a few developers who have specifically left Twitter or other social media platforms who are now only on LinkedIn, and they
Yeah.
like connecting with the community that way. So I think if you are somebody that is interested in blogging or blogs already, I think expanding that to LinkedIn is not a bad idea. Even if you just want to be on the space as somebody who interacts and who reads, you don't have to post yourself. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot to be learned because industry professionals are sharing their best practices and sharing their experiences. And it's resources that I think it would just be silly not to take advantage of.
I feel like you've got so many valid points. If you're listening, write them down. Um, also, my experience so far is I think injecting people like ourselves. You know what? We're educated women. We've
Yeah.
gone. We've gone to school. We enjoy intellectual conversations. Not to say that people who haven't gone to university, but you know what I mean. Like we're a
Yes.
type of what is it? Oh, I came across it the other day. It was like a literary
Recovering
gamer.
academics. Does that count?
Recovering academics, where we're reliving all the missed out time during our teen years because we were busy studying uh,
That's
instead of playing
fair. Yeah.
video games. Even though I did, but I think because that has been, like you said, it's discovering who it is. I think it putting ourselves in there is a little bit of fun, like
Yeah.
bit of a
It's like, how can we
sprinkle.
influence where you're going while I'm getting influenced about where I'm going,
Exactly. And it's like you're working hard on that back end. This is probably your only social media account other than like Facebook where you talk to your grandma. It's just, like this is them dipping their toes into social media because it's like, I guess, considered more serious. But I guess seeing us on the user end or like the receiving end of that work, I think is actually really valuable to them and they want to see it. Like I've had a
Yeah.
couple of videos shared on LinkedIn and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing to see these discussions. And like, I would never get that kind of genuine feedback about my work on Twitter or
Same.
on Instagram or whatever.
And I think it also does a really important thing in normalizing gaming. I think
Yeah.
you likely, as somebody that works in education, very similar to me, run into a lot of people that when you say gaming, they associate it with kids in their classrooms who are playing Fortnite or Minecraft,
Hmm.
and they don't really have an awareness beyond that. When
Hmm.
I first opened up about gaming to my coworkers, I had to let them know about it because I was gonna be interviewed during the workday, and I was like, I'm sorry, and I shared that. um, but I did face a little bit of that, like, you game, my kids game. But there's so much more rich community to it. And I think by sharing gaming experiences in a professional space like LinkedIn, we can start to normalize the industry as well as the
Hmm.
validity of the content that comes out of the gaming industry.
Oh, any game that is an RPG, if you've got a kid that plays God of War, that plays The Witcher, or has played those games, those really rich lore games,
Skyrim.
they they are fantastic readers. They might not have
It's
picked
true.
up a book, but I tell you right now, the standardized tests with some of those kids who would not. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm not kidding you. They actually scored really, really well, even though I'd never seen them pick up a book or write more than a paragraph.
Mhm.
Like,
A lot of
I,
them are also really good storytellers. They're experiencing
yeah,
stories in a
yep,
very special environment, and
mm,
it makes them better at telling their own stories. And I think it increases imagination as well. I think there's a whole universe of benefits to games as well as, drawbacks to games. Of course, there are. But I think it's important to talk about both sides of the coin when we're
yeah,
discussing gaming and youth. And then I think uncoupling the idea that gaming is for youth is also a really big thing.
yes,
And that's
yeah,
where people like Hottie Chicken are really influential because, even if you start gaming as a teenager, you turn into an adult. You know,
yeah,
like that just happens. And you don't stop being a gamer when you hit 20, 30, 40, 50. In fact, if you look at the player base of a lot of games, it's not who you think it is. It's not
mm-hmm,
17-year-olds. Yeah, sure, they're on the platform, but I guarantee you the vast majority are probably people at like 25 to 45. So I
yeah.
think making that a little bit more visible and seeing those kinds of people talk about it is really good.
It is. It really, really is. And ah, I'm just, I'm so glad that we're all here. Okay, we're here, we're talking about all of this stuff, and it's just so valuable. Um, I'm trying to steer it back to you, okay, because this really is about you.
No, I mean this is why I do content creation, right? To encourage these kinds of conversations. And like, if
Yeah,
I the way I see it, I don't really care how many followers I have. But if I can inspire somebody, or if I can get someone to tell their own story, if I can be the impetus for somebody else starting
yeah,
their own gaming content, that's
yeah.
more valuable than anything else. For a long time, I did create with no following, and I still did it because I
Hmm.
loved it. I use it as a
Yeah.
creative outlet. I am a creative person that does not get to use that every day in my lines of chosen work.
Hmm.
So that's been a great outlet for that, and it's also been a really great opportunity at connection because I don't necessarily get that in my everyday life. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all interconnected for me.
Well, I can tell you right now, it shows, and this honestly, this is just the beginning for you, darling. It really, really is,
Thank you.
and I'm I'm so glad that we've been able to connect and be able to have these really important conversations because honestly, it's we're moving into this world, and it's really difficult to navigate. We've got all these people that
Yeah.
were like socialized in real life, and then we've got all these people that have been socialized on the internet because of COVID or whatever, just the increase in technology, and it's like we're trying to like mishmash it all together. And
Hmm.
I think the more open we can be when we're talking to one another, and the more vulnerable we can be, I think the better off we'll be.
Absolutely. And thank you for hosting these conversations. It can be really hard to find a space to sometimes share experiences
Mm,
because it can feel like nobody wants to hear the experiences you've had. But I think there's a lot of value in finding not only a place to share your experiences, but to gain experience from the experience of others. And so I really admire you for not only taking a step back and allowing others to have that kind of opportunity, but actively empowering and reaching out to, women in the industry who have something to say. So thank you for doing that.
I remember I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I was like, "Hello, I don't know if you know who I am, but I have a podcast."
No,
And
I had actually thought about messaging you. I was like, is it weird if I ask to be on somebody's podcast? Like, I don't
I
think I should do that. But I thought about it. I was like, I kind of want to, but would that be weird? But
no.
I don't talk about this a lot, but I love doing podcast interviews. Of all the other kinds of interviews that I do, I love podcast interviews. I will always say yes to those. And I don't care if it's on camera, just voice. Love it every time. So thank you so much for that.
You heard it here first. If you've got a podcast out there, you want to talk about Diablo,
Let's
you
do
want to
it.
talk about World of Warcraft, you want to talk about streaming, whatever it is, hit a girl up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Love that. I want to finish off with okay. What is the next step? How are we leveling up in 2024? What are the plans? I know you mentioned you want to go to BlizzCon again. You'll probably do more interviews. They'll probably fly you out. They'll probably get your own branded helicopter.
Great. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they'll Rod, make it happen.
I know, right? I got friends in high places. Let's go. No. I think one of my small goals, I hate YouTube partnership, but I don't have 1,000 subscribers, so I'm not able to monetize my videos.
Yeah.
And so I think hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube is a really big goal for me, just so I do have a little bit of kickback, because currently I don't make any money from streaming, or any content creation at all. It's not profitable, as you know. So I think hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube is a really big goal for me. I think I'm going to develop some goals around LinkedIn. I don't even know what the possibilities are right now, but continuing to explore that platform. And then I also would really like the opportunity to go to other conventions. I would love to go to PAX East or West or both. I think that is an excellent opportunity. I've never gone to a convention like that. I'm also really looking at going to GDC, the Game Dev Conference. They have an entire, it's a whole week. It's a really long conference, but they have an entire selection of talks all about advocacy in gaming. And I would love to be in the room for those. And eventually I would really like to give a talk at one of those, because I think my experiences from the content creation side could lend a really interesting perspective. So attending some different events like that would be really huge. And I don't mind public speaking at all. I would love the opportunity to do more public speaking about gaming.
Look, if we work in education, give us a microphone. You know what I mean? We've got a lot to say.
I've started talking to teachers in our district about, hey, you've got kids that say they want to be a content creator, that say they want to stream for a living, right? Let me come talk to them and talk about what's needed.
Yes.
Right? Because they see people do it, but they might not know that you have to edit all your own videos. You have to be an audio engineer. You have to be a graphic designer. So I think finding more of those opportunities to get out there and start sharing experiences with people is really what my goal is for 2024.
Well, I'm here for that. Okay, I'm so fantastic. Yeah, cannot wait to see what is next for you. Just love, so much love. If you are wanting to follow and support Arcane in all of these visions and her work within gaming, all of her links are down below. She's not only beautiful and talented and intelligent and all that kind of stuff. She posts some really cool stuff, and she's very, very funny. So definitely check out her YouTube and help her get to those 1,000 subscribers.
I'm like 60 away. We're almost there. So
60. Oh my goodness.
I'm really close. Yeah.
Oh, so okay. All right. Well, hopefully people will see this, and we'll combine our LinkedIn greatness. And
there we go. Yeah, whole new platform.
Exactly. Love to see you. Love to see our gamers out there. And thank you so much, no matter where you are in the world. And I hope you are all staying safe. And we will see you for the next episode of COAGG Conversations.